Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family. Thank you for coming today. Before we take you into the journey of prisoner 1056, we have some house rules we would like you to follow. Then we can start the ceremony. So first of all, fire exit, health and safety. Two fire exit to my left and one to the right. We kindly ask you to silence your phones, but let your thoughts go wild into prisoner 1056. You can purchase the book on my left for the value of £20, and Roy will kindly sign that for you later on. We will start the ceremony by lighting the bulaku on both sides and 1 minute silent to show respect. So can I ask Mrs. Danu Pradeepan and Mrs. Subha Pradeepan to... So can I kindly ask you all to stand up to show your respect for a minute? Thank you. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, a very welcome, very warm welcome to all of you, and good evening. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy life to grace this special occasion with your presence. It is a pleasure and an honor to stand before you today as we celebrate a remarkable achievement, book Prisoner 1056. My name is Pradeepan. I am fortunate to have Roy in my life as my brother-in-law and a big brother. Thank you, Roy. Before we delve into the world of words, stories, and imagination that awaits us, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude. Your presence here marks your support not only for the book and the author, but also for the prosperity of our future generation. Today is a testament to the power of literature and the free world, the ability to words to transport us to the past, present, and future. As we embark on this Prisoner 1056 journey, we are not just celebrating Roy's words, but also the countless hours of hard work, creativity, and passion that have gone into crafting this Prisoner 1056 book. Prisoner 1056 touches in many different ways along the journey. As we digest our way through each page and chapter, we find ourselves somehow related to Prisoner 1056. So thank you again for everyone to show your support today. So we will begin the ceremony by, we have few speakers today, a local MP, followed by one of Roy's friends and Roy's niece. Then Roy will come on the stage and do a few speeches and read some passages from the book. After that, he will be signing the books. The one that you purchased today or the one that you have before. If you have them, you can sign them. And if we run out of these books, he will sign sign, then you can, when you purchase the book, you can stick that label onto that book. Okay, thank you. So without further ado, I would now like to welcome our next speaker, Honourable Steve Tuckwell, Member of Parliament for Uxbridge. Thank you.
Okay, good evening everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to be here as a newly elected Member of Parliament for Uxbridge and South Ruislip. That's good. But today isn't about me, today is about the author of this wonderful book, Roy, who's joined us today. And it's an absolute honour for me to be able to celebrate this book signing with you today, this evening. And I just want to sort of a few of my own reflections before I hand over to the next speaker and wish you a very successful evening. So there are a couple of similarities between myself and Roy, the author, and we can all see that mailroom to boardroom was what I picked out when I was looking into this throughout the course of the week. And for me, I came from postroom. I was postman to Parliament. So there's a few sort of similarities. There, but I have briefly spoken to Roy, and I think one of the things I said to him when we spoke is, even in the short time that I've had the invite to come this evening, the inspiration that's generated inside me has been quite overwhelming. And I was talking to my stepdaughter today because she said to me, well, where are you going tonight? So I explained to her, she Googled, Prisoner 1056, and she sort of read into it. And then, for an 18-year-old, who's just finished her studies, just passed her driving test as well, which is good news. She was really inspired by, what she read about, Roy's journey and what's brought him to here today. So I think the things that stood out for me is, escaping torture in Sri Lanka 35 years ago isn't something to be underestimated. And I think we should all congratulate Roy for sharing what is a very personal, intimate experience, which is just going to inspire so many people around the world. The strapline that's been used here, How I Survived War and How I Found Peace, is quite interesting because I've been a Member of Parliament now for a few weeks, and I've been to a number of events in a number of settings, and peace has been one of the number one topics that's been talked about. I was at a multicultural event last Sunday. There was Christians, there was Hindus, there was Muslim religious leaders there, and the key theme was around how do we achieve peace. And as a politician, I think I have a responsibility in being your voice and being the voice of the people that I represent in achieving that goal. So again, this is something which I drew inspiration from in Roy's book. But I think it also goes on to talk about an age of 17, and I can't even remember 17, but the age of 17 to go through such a traumatic experience, your parents not knowing where you are, not knowing what tomorrow's going to bring, and having to endure the terrible infliction of torture. I think there's not many people in this planet that could ever experience that or know what it's actually like. So I think that again draws inspiration. But I also, again, I think looking at the relationship with Roy's father, and I read about the tie, and I read about the tragic circumstances in relation to Roy's father. But what did come out of that for me was, I think what Roy's father was said to Roy at the time is, don't just survive but live. And I think that's something that we can all draw inspiration from. And then there was a few things in there which I looked up, which was drive, focus and goal. And that was his father's inspiration to him, which again I think we can all draw inspiration from. And then I also read, and it was touched on earlier on, around how he spent many days putting this book together. I think it was 95,000 words in 60 days, I think it was. And I also read about how I think the first 7 hours there was complete blank, and then I think you expressed it in the way the dam broke and the words came flowing. So again, that's something to be inspired about. But also, and I don't want to get political because it's all about Roy today, but I think what Roy has shown in this is hard work, and having dignity in hard work are good conservative values. And I think that's something we also need to be inspired from. So yeah, that was really good reading. So embracing freedom, which what Roy has done, and he shared those incredible experiences in this book is something that, again, I use that word inspiration. I'm certainly going to be drawing inspiration from it. And I'd like to thank you for sharing your thoughts in this wonderful book. And I hope you have a wonderful evening this evening celebrating with Roy and hopefully buying a few books as well. So thank you very much.
So now we have our second speaker of the day, young teenager. Her name is Hira Pradeepan. She was the first one to read the book in our household, and she was very eager to read when she found out Sway Mama. So to her, it's Sway Mama. For us, it's Roy. When she found out Sway Mama was writing a book, and she was very eager to read the book, because the stories that I tell her about what happens in Sri Lanka doesn't portray the way that what the books kind of portray. So can I ask Hira Pradeepan to the stage, please? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Hira Pradeepan, Subir Mama's niece. I want to start by thanking everyone for coming to the book launch of Prisoner 1056. I want to say how proud I am of Subir Mama for publishing this book. As a teenager, I don't read a lot of books, and the books I do end up reading tend to be fiction. But when my parents told me that Subir Mama was writing a book about the Tamil perspective on the Sri Lankan Civil War and the struggle for freedom, I couldn't wait for the book to be published, as I have never heard about a book like this. Daddy often shares stories from his childhood during the war and the challenges he faced, including constructing bunkers to shield his family and friends from aerial bombing. Prisoner 1056 is crafted to capture the journey of how a Tamil 17-year-old from Sri Lanka who went through trauma and used that negativity to fuel it into a positive outcome to become the man he is today. Throughout the book, he shows how he has gone out of his comfort zone to overcome many obstacles life has thrown at him. Across the entirety of the book, he quotes his dad. My favorite quote is, "You can have the best idea, but if you don't know how to express yourself, you have no idea." This incredible book wouldn't have been written if Subir Mama couldn't put his idea into words. This book was different, as I was not just told about what happened, but what he felt and how he overcame the challenges. By reading it, I could understand the struggle more clearly and gave me an insight into the Civil War and could relate to the people around me who had a first-hand experience. As the next generation, I believe that it is important for us to know not to take the things that you are given for granted. This book can inspire all people of colour, background and age, that you can rise from the bottom to the top. I found Prisoner 1056 extremely engaging and heartfelt from any age. Thank you, and I wish you a very good evening.
Okay, so we have one more speaker, followed by Roy. Then after Roy's speech, and when he starts signing the book, food will be saved on your right. So can I welcome one of Roy's closest friend? His name is Roy as well, so they went to school together. His name is Roy J. Ruben Myries.
Vanakkam. Okay. Thank you for your kind words. Prisoner 1056. To be honest with you, I'm not a good reader. That's probably why I chose mathematics as a subject. but I start listening on audios. So I started reading this book. It's How many of you in Busa, Kusa? You talking to me? No? No? Okay. We all had good, bad, and ugly experiences, and that's why we all have to leave our country and move to different countries. And the experience I've been reading on the book, it's really mind-boggling, but Roy, known to us as Sube, from my young days, from the childhood, he's a high energy, humble, but cheeky. Very friendly in school days. We were always got caned. Remember Rajaratnam Master and Valipuram Master? And he always say, this Rajaratnam Master has something to do with me. Okay, so this was all humble beginning. I had the pleasure of studying with him from grade, Hardley up to grade 1984, when the Hardley was taken over by the army. So at grade 9, and then by grade 10, I left the country. But then my friends, a lot of friends, including Sube, was actually in Busa, and you can go through the book. And I was actually going through the book. I was crying. I was laughing. It's a lot of things that we experienced was there. I started reading this book and instantly took me to our early days. Remember the story? He was taking his cousin to hospital, to Mandihai, and then he brought them back. And then by the time he was going home, he see a lot of people outside his house. And he thought the worst scenarios, what happened, why people are around my house, just to find out they were actually mourning about his disappearance. And this happened, and he wrote there that his mother was actually smacking him and crying, and similar situation. How many of us had the same situation? I can remember in my 16 years, not one, few times, and there was an attack took place near Nelliyadi, and the army, everybody is left, but we were there, collecting the bullet pieces and so on and so forth. And when we came back, I had the same experience. So I was like I was back in 35 years ago. As I said, I was laughing, I was crying, I was inspired and learned a lot. Being a well-being coach and entrepreneur myself, I will recommend this book to everybody. We met after 35 years in Penang, Malaysia, 4 years ago, when we celebrated our 50th birthday together. That's when I met Sube after 35 years, since we left and parted in UK. I came to UK and he was in Canada. He had a pot here set up, and the 70s and 80s music playing all the way on the background, but we had a lot of activities set up, and hikings and seeings and so on and so forth, and ended up with party in the night every single day. Those 10 days with 10 of us, one from USA, a few from Canada, and a few from Australia, that's probably the best 10 days in our life, and we were planning to do that in the near future again. I can continue this forever, but this is Roy Radnavale's day. It's an auspicious and it's a historical day to celebrate prisoner 1056. I just want to share a couple of things with everyone. Say we would like to, if we have